Like, Luffy is just, he's a terrorist. How's it going, fish fam? Welcome back to a brand new video. If this is your first time checking out the channel, what's up? My name is Gabe. You can also find me at SpartnFish pretty much everywhere on the internet. I am a lifelong Naruto fiend, but over the past 2 years, I have started to dive deeper and deeper into One Piece. Most recently, I just finished watching the Sabaody and Amazon Lily arc over here on our YouTube channel. For the rest of the time, I'm going to be watching this show. I am going to think about this show in an entirely different light, and that's specifically because of this arc. I feel really bad for Duval. I do. I feel bad for Duval, right? Duval is still selling people into slavery. Like, Duval is not a good dude, but like, I still kind of feel bad for him, you know? I don't know how to explain it. It's One Piece does this thing really well. And what it does is, throughout the course of the entire show, it'll introduce a character, it'll make you hate them. The switch just sort of flips, and they all of a sudden become a redeemable person. There's someone who, is now helping our crew. There's someone who is helping us catch, for the example of Duval, helping us catch other people who are selling people into slavery or helping us free other slaves. Almost every character has something redeemable about them. Obviously, that's not always true. We left off on basically defeating an army of people who had their bodies and minds enslaved by Gecko Moria. And somehow Sabaody manages to be a darker, more sinister arc. But all of that is sort of boiling beneath the surface, because when we first begin, obviously we meet Kami, we get reintroduced to Hachi, who, we haven't seen since Arlong Park. We get immediately thrust back into the realization that, oh yeah, don't forget, this is a world of pirates. There is dark shit happening. We have people kidnapping fishmen, kidnapping mermaids, selling them into slavery. We're basically spending the first few episodes while we're here, like, getting a feel for what Sabaody is, getting a feel for, the sort of vibes of the island, as we do every time we travel anywhere new. We're going to the amusement park, which, by the way, Chopper and Brooke at the amusement park is one of my favorite moments of the arc, honestly. It's such a cool little moment. All the while, there's sort of this undertone of like, yeah, Kami has to like cover up her tail the whole time. Hachi has to cover up his tattoos the whole time and hide his arms and legs. Kind of just there to exemplify that divide that exists between humanity and fishmen. And we see these like sort of subtle symbols of tension that I already sort of touched on, them hiding their tail, hiding their arms, hiding their tattoos, all that. And we also see, mentions of the auctions. We see people walking around with collars on their neck. And it's just all slowly building up to us eventually getting the big reveal. The Celestial Dragons are the reason why I said Hogback, Gecko Moria, and Wapol are no longer, like, in my mind, the most evil 3 characters in One Piece. We get introduced to the Celestial Dragons by them beating their human slaves and shooting them in the head. They're basically all Nepo babies. The big villains of One Piece are basically Nepo babies, because of course they are. And it's just this idea of like this absolute totalitarian power, and how it's corrupted the system just over hundreds of years, probably longer than hundreds of years, but at the very least over hundreds of years, just completely corrupted the system. And now it's just these fat little snot-nosed losers who just think they own the world, because they do, and can just, kill people. It's not just like this abstract concept where we're not like, damn, that's horrific, they're doing that to these random fucking people on this island and just killing them whenever they want. It's no, it's someone we know now. The thing we saw happen 20 minutes ago the thing that, you know, Zoro tried to kill one of the celestial dragons, Luffy had to be held back. Like, now it's happening to someone we know. It's personal. We're gonna beat their ass. Kami gets kidnapped, by the way, by this dude who looks like Peter Pan. Sells Kami to the human auction house, run by Doflamingo, who is once again supported by the world government. And not only is the fact that Doflamingo runs this human auction house widely known, and, you know, he has his logo inside the goddamn place, right? It's not like he's trying to hide it by any means. But the world government, since slavery is illegal, they just sort of turn a blind eye because, it's, you know, it's one of our guys. So it's cool. It's cool when we do it. It's fine when we do it, you know? So it's actually, I don't even remember what they said, but when they brought up the fact that, you know, someone was raiding the human auction house, they were like, I mean, someone's robbing the, what do we call it? The jobs program. Everyone knows. You know, everyone knows. Nobles, pirates, marines, everyone is complicit in the fact that, you know, slavery exists. It's run by the government. We're all cool with it. Fishmen and mermaids are high value property. They're not people, they're high value property. They're weird little fish things. Like, they're not fucking people. It's, you know, slavery isn't something that's hidden. It's not something that's done in the shadows. It's something that's normalized, and it's something that's perpetuated by the government. Every arc of One Piece, right, is its own unique moment where we have, you know, unique settings, unique characters, and like these interesting sort of parallels to real world. But I feel like we also have these ties in to the other arcs within One Piece, right? So we have Sabaody, which pretty quickly ties into Enies Lobby as far as like our crew being, you know, sort of thrust into this role as like anti-government vigilante. Like, listen, the world government runs everything. Our crew is actively fighting the world government, whether like Luffy believes that in his head or not. Like, that's what he's doing. Like, Luffy is just, he's a terrorist, bro. That's what he is. He is actively fighting against the government. The government sucks, and he is fighting against it. For the Straw Hats is like, listen, we'll let you get away with things to a certain extent, but if it becomes personal to us, bro, we just gotta kill you. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you are a celestial dragon. It doesn't matter if you are a god. It doesn't matter if you're a mob boss. It doesn't matter. You could be a clown running a circus, bro. If you start doing personal attacks against us or against people we know, that's it. You have reached the end of your rope, and we are going to hang you out to dry. We got to talk about that punch. We got to talk about that punch. The big nose brat of the celestial dragon family shoots Hachi. Luffy does not hesitate for a moment. There is not a second in his mind where he thinks, oh, you know, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe this is a bad thing to do. What if the weight of the world government comes collapsing in on me like a dying star after I do this? That thought doesn't even enter into his brain. He doesn't consider it for a second. He just starts walking at this little goober, and he punches him so fucking hard. He punches him so fucking hard, bro. He goes back in time to before color television. This was one of the most satisfying moments of the show for me so far. Essentially, how old is Luffy at this point? Like 15, 16? Like this 16-year-old kid who's just like, I fucking loathe you. I detest you. I am rejecting everything that you stand for, and I'm going to show you that by punching you in the fucking face. The 11 supernovas, I feel like I've heard them called like 4 or 5 different things, but basically Luffy and all of the people who have a similar bounty level as him, who are considered like this new young generation, this new, like, the most powerful people of this new current generation. You know, we had Rayleigh's generation, and they're just like looking to pass the torch basically ever since Gold Roger. And now everything that they did over 2 decades ago at this point, now it's all starting to like bear fruit. And we're having people like Luffy, we're having people like Law, we're having people like Kid, who are all going after like their own individual ambitions. I mean, most of them all kind of want to be king of the pirates, but they're all going after their own individual ambitions in these different ways. And they're, at least during Sabaody, you know, there's not really an instance that I saw where pirates were fighting against each other. We were all pretty much there to help one another, especially once we were fighting the Kuma bots. Before Bonnie even like gets introduced to Zoro, before she knows who he is, before any of that, she saves his ass. I mean, Zoro would have killed the fuck out of that celestial dragon, so really she saved the celestial dragon's ass. But at the end of the day, I think in part the reason why she was doing that was because she wanted to make sure that you know, her crew was safe. We have the team up of Kid, Law, and Luffy, right? And which seemingly is like the first major alliance that we've had within One Piece, as far as like on-screen alliances go, because obviously in the background of everything we have this whole civil war that's waging against the government, that's more of like an organized front, and that we have Whitebeard and Shanks working together. But our first real like on-screen alliance that we have, Kid, Law, Luffy, all fighting side by side against each other, against this huge crowd of Marines, right? The different supernovas just beating ass in their own unique ways, or running away in their own unique ways, or just teaming up, right? And we get to see that this rebellion against the world government isn't just, you know, one person. It isn't just, you know, Dragon. It isn't just, you know, Luffy stumbling ass backwards into the situations. It's a whole generation of people that are just working together in different ways, even if they don't really know it at this point. And it's kind of interesting because everyone should be rivals at this point, right? Everyone should be someone that has it out for someone else. By the way, my one gripe about the Sabaody arc as a whole is the fact that Kid has any problems fighting a Kuma bot. Kid should be able to crumple a fucking Kuma bot into a meatball and send that shit into space. It makes absolutely no sense that he has any problems fighting a Kuma bot unless the Kuma bots are made out of like sea prism stone, which at that point, even if they punch the Kuma bot, they should be like lights out, knocked out, incapacitated. So that doesn't make any goddamn sense, brother. And then we also have Law, who has the human centipede fruit. Law's power creeps the fuck out of me. They seem like kind of two sides of the same coin, where you have Law, who's more like calculated and reserved, maybe like strategic is like a good word to describe him. Again, I don't really know all that much about him yet. And then you have someone who, like Kid, who just seems like a fucking monster, just like a hyper aggressive, hyper angry, always willing to throw hands. And both of them seeing Luffy in that moment, they're just like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, I think I like this guy, dude. Before I get to the eventual defeat of our Straw Hat crew, I did want to take a few moments here to kind of talk about Rayleigh, the Dark King. Okay, we got to talk about Rayleigh, right? Like, there's no way you expected to get through this whole video without me having to talk about Rayleigh. As far as we know, as far as our crew knows at this point, he's our first, like, direct link to Roger's legacy, basically, other than Crocus, who apparently was also on Roger's crew because he went looking for Brook. Everyone else looks up to Roger as the guy who started the golden age of pirates, and Brook's like, oh yeah, there was like a rookie who went by that name back in my day. Like, that shit's so funny. When we get to meet Rayleigh and we get to meet his wife, and we're kind of getting our first peek behind the curtain, finally learning information about Roger and learning about his humanity and who he was as a person, not just like the myth of who he was. Well, first of all, the way Rayleigh gets introduced to the crew is hockey, but at this point in time, I haven't seen anyone that I know of on the Marines use hockey. So it seems like it's something that, like, our side of the force, for lack of a better term. And that's just our first time meeting Rayleigh, because when we actually get to sit down and talk with him for, longer than 2 minutes when we're not in an active combat zone, I know I'm not that far into One Piece, and it seems like every 100 episodes I have to say, this is the biggest reveal that's ever happened in One Piece. He lets us know that Roger wasn't captured. The way we started this show, the very first thing that happens when you hit play on episode 1 of One Piece is you find out that Roger was captured by the Marines and executed. That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. Roger turns himself into Garp, which, it has this whole other side implication, which, in my opinion, and it's something that I talk about later on the line down in Impel Down, where, Garp probably feels some type of way, and it's probably one of the reasons why he doesn't really care about his position within the Marines, is the fact that he probably doesn't feel like he's earned that position, because a big part of the reason is because he's the one who captured Gold Roger, but he didn't do shit. Roger just turned himself in because, he was ready to go out. Turned himself in. He wanted to help everyone else. Oh, hey, do you want to know what the One Piece is? Of course, Luffy immediately shuts down my dreams of knowing what the One Piece is, because Luffy is a kid and he's like, it's not about that. It's about the journey. It's not about, don't you spoil my fucking surprise. No. Robin starts asking him, like, well, how did Roger know that language? How is he signing his name on these different tablets? Like, how did that happen? And Rayleigh just looks at Robin, hits her with the fucking, you like grabby baddies, don't you, Squidward? Do you want to know what happened during the blank century? Oda's such an asshole for that, dude. Oda is such an asshole for that. Sabaody isn't just an arc about, us fighting the system, us, learning about some of the horrific nature of the real world. The entire buildup and purpose of Sabaody to experience the most crushing defeat we have had in the entire show, at least, up to this point. Very similar to what we had with the death of the Going Merry. Like, the emotional moment, at least for me, isn't the fact that it's happening. It's like how Luffy is reacting to what's happening, he's just facing this overwhelming violence, this overwhelming power that's being thrown at him from this worldwide government authority, and he just can't do anything about it. He can't overcome this power, and it's just destroying his family, destroying his friends, and just crushing them all. And the moment when he realizes he can't do anything, and just see that look of just absolute dejection, just absolute defeat, far and away, the you can disagree with me on this, but I think I'm in the majority here. The worst one was Nami. Because Nami is not a person who asks others for help. If Nami was a person who asked people for help, she would have never joined the Arlong Pirates, right? But she doesn't ask for help. The second time she asked for help, she couldn't even get the words all the way out before Luffy has no clue what happens to her. She just gets swatted by Kuma into oblivion, and as far as Luffy knows, the last thing she did was look at him, try and beg for help, and then she's just dead. It's not just Oda showing the crew being defeated. It's, him showing the cost of rebelling against this system. Because if you go against this system where the entire purpose, the entire thing that it's been designed around is crushing anyone who goes against it, this is what happens. Kuma's such a confusing character to me, and he just feels like such a conflicted character. All of the other warlords, right? Every other warlord, to some degree, they tolerate the world government and they kind of put up with them. You know, they don't seem servile to them, other than Blackbeard, who just seems like he's kind of doing that right now because he feels like it and he wants to get all the benefits of being a warlord, but he's not really doing it for anything other than that. I don't know. Kuma doesn't feel like the rest of the warlords because they basically bring dude out on a dog leash whenever they need him, point him in the right direction and say, go, go. I don't know. Like, we still haven't talked about religion really in One Piece outside of when we were in Skypiea. But a lot of the things that they're, you know, trying to order Kuma to do or trying to order Kuma to protect, those aren't really things that would be viewed positively in that book that he carries around, right? Those aren't really things that I don't think Kuma would be pro-slavery. I know a lot of people who currently sort of try and espouse that they are good followers of the Christian religion are kind of scumbags to certain degrees, depending on what side of the political aisle you lean on. But to me, it doesn't seem like Kuma is that person. It doesn't seem like Kuma is the type of person who uses religion as a way to justify doing horrible things. It seems like he's someone who's forced to do horrible things. I don't know. I could be reading too far into it, but at the end of the day, like, yeah, Kuma systematically destroys our crew one by one, but he also could have killed our crew one by one. He sends them all to different islands, and I have to imagine he did that purposefully. I have to imagine he could have just killed them. After we leave Sabaody, we go and we see Amazon Lily, where Luffy gets sent off to, and we get to see all of the other islands that the crew gets sent off to before we actually go into Impel Down. The thing that I think is interesting the most is the islands that Kuma sent them to. I mean, it's almost like he sent them to the exact islands they need to go to be better, stronger people. Nami is a navigator slash human fucking barometer, and he sent her to an island where it seems like she's just going to study the weather. We have Usopp, who basically gets trapped on an island where he's going to be forced to fight for his own survival. Chopper, also another really interesting one, where he's sort of on this half human, half animal island, so he's basically, like he is on the crew, he's sort of forced to be like the in-between between these two groups of people. Frankie, who goes, of course, to a cyborg island where apparently there's Vegapunk shit there. Brook becomes Satan. There's nothing else to say there. Brook just becomes Satan. I'm very interested to what Sanji's training arc is going to look like, because that's definitely an island that's going to force Sanji to grow as a person. That's what people like Alex Jones think California is. It's just a whole island of men dressing like girls, running around, trying to seduce you. Bro, can Robin catch a fucking break? Hello? She goes from her childhood to, what was it? Fucking Tequila Wolf, right? Which is just a whole island prison camp. From my knowledge of the world government, they're probably building a bridge to fucking nowhere. It is probably not connected to fucking anything. Learn that Luffy has haki, which, again, as I said earlier in this video, what the fuck is it? I don't know. They still haven't explained what haki is. Let's go watch Impel Down. Before you click off this video and go to watch Impel Down, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you guys thought of this video. Let me know what your favorite moment was from Sabaody. If I missed it, yell at me down in the comments, or even better, join the Discord, because if you join the Discord, you get notified when I'm live on Twitch, you get notified when I post a new video on YouTube. You can go in there, hang out with the rest of the Fish fam, hang out with me, yap about One Piece, yap about manga, yap about fitness, any of the other animes I'm watching. You also get access to other shows that aren't available here on YouTube, like Tokyo Ghoul, Shield Hero, JJK, things like that. So if you're interested in any of that or want to talk about where I'm at right now in One Piece, then hop on the Discord, because by the time you're watching this, I've probably already started Marineford. Hey, if you like this video, then YouTube says that you'll probably like this video that's on the screen right now, so you can go ahead and hit that video. Look, go ahead. This is one right here.